I came up with a new show idea, Lubie. And it's going to be a show entitled Loan Shark Tank, where we have like 5 loan sharks on one side, and the people come in, these bust out degenerate gamblers come in, and they try to negotiate better terms on some kind of a loan and also secure the loan, even though their reputations may not match up with what would be considered spot on credit. And then you got some guy coming in there going, hey, listen, I'm looking for $600 at 2 points a week. I'm telling you, I'm going to pay you back. I know my reputation is not necessarily exemplary. And, then the loan sharks start picking them apart. It's like, well, what are you talking about, Johnny? 2 points a week. That's laughable. It's 7 points a week just to talk to me. What do you think?
I think it would be classic.
And you get the music going. The guy comes out. He's clearly in need of the money. And they get that dun, 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 dun. And you got some guy that looks like Vito. He's Mr. Wonderful's chair, and Mr. Wonderful's chair, and he's just looking at the guy like, what a watermelon.
I was gonna say you have to have at least one of the people or behind them, enforcers, at least either behind them or off to the side
with that face, that the enforcer always has. Like, let me at him. How about a little taste of pain?
The beginning of every episode, it's a guy that fucking didn't pay last week. So they have to send a message.
Shit beat out of him, He's in some trash can peeling himself out. Man, here's last week's deadbeat. What do you think? Could I get some money to produce this thing? Is somebody going to steal the idea? I was afraid to unveil it here on the show because I thought it was brilliant.
I think it's funny.
Loan Shark Tank.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Defo Show. I'm Jeff DeForest, and the gentleman in the other little box there is one Mike Lubie Lubitz. I was thinking about you yesterday, Lubie. I ran into a neighbor that I see frequently. He's always out walking his dog. In fact, he has the one dog that when being walked on a leash, Skippy, my dog, a rescue dog who had his share of psychological problems and probably was in need of serious psychiatric help when we got him, as Lubie would bear witness to. Because you couldn't walk in the house. I mean, he was ready to bite everybody's leg off. He was going crazy all the time. If a leaf blew in the yard, he was barking for the next 45 minutes, insanely. And you thought he needed sedation. And maybe, there was a point in time there early on when we had this dog that even the Mustang had given up hope. She was ready to bring him back. And I said, we just can't do that. I mean, you made a commitment to this thing, and let's go ahead and stay with it. But when walking on a leash, if he sees any other dog but this dog, he goes crazy. Do you have that with your dog, Lubie, where is he pretty friendly with other dogs, or you always have to go and figure out, hey, how can I disguise the fact that there's another dog out here so that, in this case, Skippy doesn't see him?
He's actually friendly. He's just big, and every dog reacts to him.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
So I actually just keep him away from other dogs, even though he actually interacts with other dogs very well. He just incites a reaction from them.
Okay.
So, yes, I still have to do the same move because of that. Yes, I keep him away.
Right. I mean, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to duck behind this car here. I'll never see the other dog. But there's one dog that he likes. And so I always stop and talk to this guy. And I realized that yesterday, what was it about this gentleman, one of my neighbors, that made him, at least from an appearance standpoint, seem very, very interesting to me. And that is that he looks like death warmed over. He really does. I mean, one of those guys with like a 3-day stubble, tattered shirt, looks like he slept in it, or maybe even in the trunk of his car for a couple of days. Very nice man. I mean, don't get me wrong. Shows you can't judge everybody by appearances. But if you were thinking, hey, well, what is the epitome? If I had to characterize, or put a picture together of a guy who was just like a walking dead man, it would be this guy. And the reason I bring it up is not because I wanted to talk about dogs so much, but maybe underdogs. Because I figured, wow, this guy must look just exactly like most FSU fans today.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, Lubie, about gambling and point spreads and evaluations and all of that. Sometimes you just have to trust your eyes and believe what you've just seen. Television analysts are always trying to convince us that, what we just saw was not really what happened, and that we should read something else into it. When the truth was, when you're looking at a team that just got awful, sometimes you just have to accept, hey, you know what? They're really bad. And we saw that in the Georgia Tech game. I mean, were they not getting dissected up the middle by runs by
Stupid
Georgia
plays.
Tech?
Like that. That's the
Talking
issue.
about Florida State, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, in the Georgia Tech game, Georgia Tech was a 10.5 point dog. They should have been getting dissected. That wouldn't be the strange thing. It's the fact that a team that a lot of people pegged in the play, especially a 12-team playoff, the ACC is going to get one team. I mean, if you've watched Clemson, they're not scary. Miami looks really good, but the rest of the ACC is eh. So people were thinking, yeah, Florida State will be in the playoff. They'll win the ACC. Coming off of last year, they got transferred, this and that. Norvell's in year 5. That's the problem with what's working against them. It's just bullshit. It's stuff that like Little League
Straight up the middle. My God, Louis. How many runs up the middle did Boston College
and the
have last
quarterbacks
night?
aren't even good. Like, that's the funny thing is, like, Castellanos, they call him, but I feel like his name's got to be Castellanos. They're just white. But Castellanos is what they call him. And Haynes King aren't good passers. Like, you saw it. Like, they're missing guys wide open. They're just running regular runs and they're just lost in 2 weeks in a row. They're just lost.
Straight up to, I couldn't believe how many times Boston College and O'Brien just rammed the ball right up FSU's ass. And it worked.
Man,
so a 17-point, that game went off 17 points. What wasn't it, like 14 and a hook at one stage last
17
week?
got down to 16, and then yesterday got back up to 16 and a
My
half.
God, 17-point dogs, Boston College with a new coach. And now you know that O'Brien can coach.
Yeah, he's fine.
And at the college level, has a chance. The lovely and talented one, Leslie Visser, was texting me, how about we're doing this with no NIL money? So Boston College apparently bereft of the kind of funding that some of these other schools, and you would imagine that Florida State, that they not invest heavily in DJ ukulele. I mean, what happened to this kid? 7 years of college down the drain, my friend. It was Blutarski City. He looked awful. And so now
he's bad. He's just bad. Like, literally, you had a guy that in Rodemaker wasn't flashy. This would have been his 5th year. And because they were looking for a transfer quarterback, he left. He at least can hit wide open guys. Like, he at least, when there's a rush, can avoid a rush. He at least, when there's a rush, doesn't just take a sack or throw it away. He doesn't on the out route, which isn't an easy throw. But when a guy has space and is open and you have the sideline, usually that's a pass. A guy who's a 5th-time starter. Again, this is 5th year starting. It's not his 5th year in college or 6th year. This is 5th year starting. He started since he was a freshman.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, all he's done is gone backwards. His best year was his freshman year at Clemson, and every year since,
good. Yes,
horrible. Like that was the hope. Was okay. It's his 5th year starting. Oregon State was better last year. None of us watched Oregon State. They ran the ball and played good defense. Is clearly what they did, and that
he wasn't bad. I actually had a bet on one of the Oregon State games on the recommendation of the professor, who, by the way, was on fire. Not only on our show, but also on our Barry Bookie program. I think he went 4-1 there, and also had a little lean towards FAU, which we all did after talking to Tom Herman, and they easily covered their point spread against Michigan State.
Maybe the next LSU coach.
Well, I don't know. Can you really dump Norvell? I mean, after the way that he had this program on the ascent, that seems like a little premature evaluation.
We have a whole show to get to, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot of Canes.
Yeah.
But I'm just joking. It's just his team, at least on the road. And Michigan State's not good, but they were ready. They were there. Like, that's the problem with the FSU team, is they could have played shitty these 2 weeks and won games. It was not that they played shitty. It was that they weren't on the field. It was literally, what the fuck have they done in practice for the last 5 months? Like, what are they doing? Because these teams these teams are doing the exact thing they did before. So it's not like, oh, you don't have film on them. You do. Bill O'Brien is running the same fucking thing. Their former coach was running, and the GT, it's just simple runs. It's like, dude, you're supposedly have one of the best defensive lines in college football. They should be fucked because their quarterbacks can't throw, but they don't need to. They ran it 50 times.
Straight up the middle. I couldn't believe how much yardage they were getting, the penetration they were getting. Right up the middle, and the guys scrambling, getting through 3 or 4 attempted tackles, and there was a one fluke play where the guy fumbled the ball, and it still went for another 10 yards. Ukulele, they had that little crisscross where the defense got confused, and both of the defensive backs went with the guy who went to the inside down by the goal line when they had to settle for a field goal instead. and you couldn't be any more wide open in the corner of the end zone.
And he had
That's almost an impossible pass to miss, although he didn't really. I mean, he sort of panicked and threw the ball a little quickly, and next thing you know, it's over his head. Which a lot of misplays, but to lose by double digits, Florida State, it's El Finito. They had a percentage thing up, one of those weird stats that they now post all the time. That Florida State, if they lost this game, which they did, would have a 1% chance of making the 12-team college football playoff. After, clearly getting fucked last year. Regardless, I keep going over this criteria in my head and think that, okay, it's one thing to judge, geez, what does the team look like right now when you take everything into consideration, including injuries? And Jordan Travis, what was a tremendous loss. You mentioned, what was it, Wanamaker? Was that the guy's name?
Tate Rodemaker, yeah.
Rodemaker, okay.
He had won games for them. They won with him.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't terrible, but, the showing wasn't nearly as efficient with him in there as it was with Travis, who was capable of doing spectacular things at different times, and really was one of those players that could ignite an offense that had been sort of dormant through a lot of the game, and then all of a sudden just get hot. But Ranamaker, he didn't have that characteristic. But
no.
I mean, to leave them out of the playoff, it was clearly just an absolute hose job. All based on the fact that Nick Saban was calling the shots for the college football 100%. Playoff committee, and they wanted to find a way to get Nick in there, which did they give a better account of themselves, Alabama, than Florida State might have? You could say possibly so, but we'll never know because by all manners of the credentials that it takes to get into the postseason, Florida State qualified. And if you were going to take those standards away, then you really don't have a system anymore. You may as well just elect Donald Trump. That's what you mean.
If it was like the last game and Travis gets hurt, and now you're like, oh, fuck, what is Florida State without your quarterback? But they kept saying they kept picking them to lose, and they kept winning. If you win without the quarterback, you've shown you can win without the quarterback.
Amazing.
That's all you need to do. I mean, but I don't know. It's been a very, 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 it's like the longest hangover ever. When was that? January? So it's like
what pain.
Hangover.
This is like finding out, just as you thought you got over some, serious illness, that, something worse has popped up. Because they begin the season now 0-2, 1% chance of making a postseason, which equates out to a big fat round number, doesn't it? Like 0.0.
Yeah, no, they're not doing anything. But that's the thing that's the other thing is it's 0-2, and they're both ACC games. Both teams will play their conference games for another week or two. They've already lost 2 conference games to 2 of the teams that were middle of the road to low. Like Georgia Tech and Boston College are better than they were, and it shows the ACC isn't top heavy like the SEC or the Big Ten, but it has depth where there's a lot of solid teams that if you play like that can beat you by 2 touchdowns. But they're on the lower scale of the ACC. They're not North Carolina. They're not Clemson. They're not Miami. I mean, their season's done from a perspective of hope and going to a good bowl or the playoffs. I mean, you can't talk about
bowl would be the goal.
Yeah, it's just trying to get to a bowl. I mean, when you play like that, I mean, you had all off season, you had summer, you had spring. Yeah, you start slow, but it's not looking lost for 2 straight weeks. Like they just look lost.
All right, so an awful start to the season for Florida State. Miami and Florida, a big game over the weekend, one of the marquee games on the schedule. We were, agonizing over whether or not you could back Mario Cristobal with any kind of faith whatsoever, even with Cam Ward, the transfer, who came in with a lot of accolades and hype surrounding him as maybe being the best quarterback Miami has seen since the heyday when it was quarterback U, maybe even better than some of the guys who were part of that whole quarterback U history and legacy. And wow, the one point that you were really kind of analyzing to the extent that, geez, is this guy the dumbest coach in the history of fucking college football? Even he couldn't blow this because are the Gators that bad and are the Canes that good? That's another question coming out of that game, but very impressive. And if you were thinking, just a couple of years ago, the hierarchy in the state, which was always an area of contention, like who's got the best team in Florida? Is it Miami, Florida, Florida State? And it was debatable on a lot of different levels. And it was kind of interesting. It made it very easy to do sports talk in a college football season. Hey, Defo, who do you think is better, the Gators or Florida State? I was like, okay. Now the question is, who's worse, Florida State or the Gators?
Yeah,
And Miami's left out of that conversation
yeah,
because at least as of this weekend, they established themselves as maybe a team that was better than the 19th ranked team in the country as they came into this ball game against the Gators. Now, you would have to say the Swamp is definitely one of the intimidating places to play in the country. Louis, I don't know if it ranks number one. I mean, it probably, what would it be in the top 10 of intimidating places to play in the country? The Swamp. Have you ever been to a game at the Swamp?
yeah. It's
You have,
it's
okay.
pretty rabid. Yeah, it's pretty rabid. I mean, they sell out and they're pretty close to the field, and you
It's
hang
the
on.
hillbilly factor that scares the fuck out of me. I don't know
Yeah,
about you, right?
there's definitely a Billy presence
I've
as you
mentioned
walk.
many times the time I was rolling into Oakland for a Dolphins game against the Raiders. I happened to be riding the Dolphin team bus going over there to do a broadcast. We were on the road with the team, and we're looking at the radical people in the parking lot there. I mean, talking about an intimidation factor. You know, you had heard about that your whole life, and you always had the mystique of the Raiders and that sort of thing. And you know, you would see Raider fans, and they look pretty radical. I mean, they look like guys that got rejected from being extras in a movie about Kiss or whatever. But and the costumes and all of that. But yeah, when you rolled into the Oakland parking lot, wow! I mean, intimidation was raised to a new level, and I would imagine it's somewhat similar with the Florida Gators, just because you see all of those mobile homes on the blocks that have been raised from their original location and shifted by some kind of transport to the Gator parking lot. And all of those guys are out there looking like, speaking of extras, like they were rejected extras from the movie Deliverance. And you think, not a little too hillbilly for me. Intimidating place to play. So a strong performance, maybe enhanced a little bit by the fact that it was accomplished on the road. Very
Yeah.
bad Gator team. Everybody was
Bad.
speculating that this would be a poor year for the Florida Gators, regardless of the status of the coaching staff, which now appears to be more than imperiled, does it not? I
Yeah,
mean, maybe
their
you're
schedule's
going to
nuts.
see Tom Herman coach the Gators. How about that?
Their schedule's nuts because whereas Miami literally has the easiest schedule in the country, Florida State has a tough schedule. Their schedule, the SEC's added Texas and Oklahoma. I don't know if they play either of those, but the problem is they play all the rest of the good SEC teams.
Yeah.
And they're all better this year. LSU is supposed to be really good. Yeah, they took a tough loss, but you can see they have a quarterback, and their defense is night and day from what it was last year. Tennessee is one of the better young quarterbacks in the country. They play them every year because they're a rivalry game. They play they play Georgia every year. That's a rivalry game. They may play Alabama because I think they missed Alabama last year. Like, their schedule is just utterly fucking insane. Like, the Miami game was one of their easier games. Like, and not that Miami was supposed to be a better team this year, but when you look at their schedule, the way it stacks up, like, their schedule is just rough. So to like lose that game where you just look like, that's the problem for FSU is they don't have a cake. The only cake game is Charleston Southern at the end of the year. Like, they've gotten to this place where they put these ridiculous schedules together, which is fine when you have a really veteran good team. When you have a team that looks like that, this schedule is going to be tough for both of those teams. The difference is FSU is at least ACC teams, and maybe you can find a way to improve. You have worse because it's SEC teams that are supposed to all contend for the playoffs. Like, Napier's done. It's not even that he's done. It's when. Like, there's no way. They look like that versus Miami. And Miami is a better team. Miami will have a very good record at the end of the year playing the schedule they play. Miami pales in comparison to the teams that UF's going to play. Like, Miami is not one of those teams. And they were dismantled in every phase the entire game. I mean,
school records were being checked.
They never look good. And
they
Miami,
had the Guinness people out there. What are you talking about? World records were being threatened there. Cam Ward threw for what, 385 yards, something like that. Very convincing victory by the Miami Hurricanes, which that leaves us where the Hurricanes supposedly have a horrible schedule. I still can't forgive you, Mario Cristobal, ever for that kneel down play, that non-kneel down. I mean,
the problem
and I don't buy this anymore, Lubie. I'm not buying that maybe you can put it behind you and learn from it. You don't learn shit from that. If you don't know what to do by then, you shouldn't have that position in the first place. But did the guy, I mean, everybody was always talking about, and this is proven to be true, going all the way back to when he was assisting Nick Saban, bringing recruits in Alabama. But and the guy's always been great at putting teams together.
He can recruit, and
Yeah.
look, that's
Very Butch Davis-esque in that regard, but maybe I would say not quite as good of a coach as Butch Davis, even though
yes.
Butch Davis was not necessarily the greatest game day coach you would ever see.
Look, the reason what happened last year is something that will linger, and why people like you aren't wrong, and you're gonna like me with Adam Fuller, who I'm finally right, and I've been right for fucking 5 years. They just had a bunch of 4th and 5th year seniors on defense last year, so it made Adam Fuller look like a better coach than he fucking is. He sucks, the defensive coordinator for Florida State.
Okay.
But like last year made him look
I love that Venom is already out here.
made him look good. No,
week
but
two.
you're gonna have your day because a guy like Cristobal can't coach. I mean, it's just clear. But
It has to come back to bite them at some point.
it's gonna rear his head because they're gonna be in tight games. Like their schedule's cake this year, but when they get into an ACC championship game, when they get into a playoff situation, when he's against a good coach with better talent, because they've recruited well, but they haven't recruited as well as they've had top 10 classes. They haven't had top 3 classes. They're not recruiting like Georgia, fucking Ohio State, Alabama, Texas.
No.
Like they're recruiting better than they've recruited. They're recruiting as well as anyone in the state. They're still recruiting in that 5 to 10 range, which is different than 1 to 5. So the talent is going to be better in every game they play this year because of the bullshit schedule they play. His coaching won't be tested there. The problem is when they get in tight situations like that fucking Georgia Tech game, when the coach has to make the difference, and his 4 years of coaching, he's always gone the other way. He always makes the bad decision that loses them a game. But if you're a Canes fan and you have one 10-win season in 25 fucking years, you'll be okay right now with this. And that's what Cristobal, I was trying to tell you, look, they're going to win a lot of games this year. I still don't know what they are. And I'm going to tell you that all year because Cam Ward's weird to me. Like the dude is an athlete. He has a strong arm. He makes plays, but he takes a lot of fucking risky chances and he's not accurate. And he'll get away with it because they're playing on a UF defense, a Duke defense. They're playing, I don't even know who they play in the ACC. They play a bunch, like Louisville is okay. Like they don't play any of the real defensive teams. So they're going to get away with it. And he's going to look good as a coach. When they play a good team that plays good defense and makes him be patient and I'm talking about Ward. Cristobal's always patient. His offenses are horrendous. But Ward says, fuck you, Cristobal, which is what I was wondering if that was going to happen. I was wondering if Ward was just going to do his own fucking thing and not let Cristobal get in the way, which is what every quarterback does. And he is smart because Cristobal's offenses are horrendous. So Ward is like, fuck it. I'm just going to make plays. I'm going to do what the fuck I want to do. Your shitty offenses aren't going to get in my way. That's going to work against bad teams, average teams. What is it going to be against good teams? But again, that's what I was trying to tell you. Like Cristobal has recruited really well. Like they're going to beat average to bad teams this year. It's your.
You would think
they have a real quarterback now. Like
yeah, I mean it was interesting because you always hear this. This is cliche. And speaking of cliches, Mike Norvell came on the field. I had to send you a text, Louie, because I don't know if you caught that. I just happened to be flipping around. I was switching back and forth a little bit between that game. I wasn't as interested in the FSU Boston College game, except from a betting standpoint. Getting 17 points seemed to be rather generous in that spot, considering. And is that not true about gambling, Lubie? Should you not sometimes just believe what you see with your own eyes? Never mind all this analysis and paralysis by analysis and mathematical permutations and all the other stuff that goes into it. You just saw FSU lay an egg against a Georgia Tech team that is, as you would say, if you were rating the team, you would probably say something along the lines of, maybe plus, something like that. Georgia Tech. Are they plus? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, look, the guy Brent.
Kind of like, your grandmother's brisket, which wasn't really all that great, but it was plus.
Like they're a team that you think you'll beat by a lot, and then they'll make it a game, and because they play good defense, they play fundamentally sound. Their quarterback is a veteran. But the good team should beat them by 2 to 3 scores. Like that's what they are right now.
And you're watching and saying, okay, they just get literally, destroyed with the simplest of plays against them by Georgia Tech. Who's to say that they're going to be 17 points better than a Boston College team that's inspired with a new coach? And this Bill O'Brien, he was horrendous as a general manager when he had the jobs simultaneously. coach and GM with the Houston Texans, and he really buried that franchise for a period of time, which maybe they're coming out of that coma now. And that's the other beautiful thing about this week, because you have this whole theory out there. Norvell comes on the field, and he's just, spewing cliches in this two. They always get two questions. So, and that's it, right? I always love that when it's already preordained that it's going to be a 2-question interview. And then the coach says absolutely nothing in answer to the first question, even though Norvell is sort of he's not one of these coaches that is going to give you a 2-word answer. It's not like he's going Popovich on you.
No,
because he will speak for probably what, he answers the question. Took him about a minute to answer the question, and then I'm listening. I'm going, what the fuck did he just say? He basically gave you the old Howard Schnellenberger. We got a good football team. They got a good football team. And when 2 good football teams get together, it's going to be a good football game.
100%.
And you're thinking, how many times did he use the word football in a short sentence? It's nuts. But he came out there and he was spewing these cliches, but he didn't look really comfortable, Lubie, I have to say.
No, he's looked off.
Maybe he knew that this was going to be some kind of a horror show. So that was kind of interesting. And then I was flipping back and forth with the U.S. Open, which, over the weekend, could you have more blockbuster? If you're one of those phantom plungers, one of those people, we talk about this all the time, where you're betting 2,000 to win 100. Lubie, you're laying like 20 to 1 against. And we had 2 monumental upsets in the early rounds of the U.S. Open over the weekend, where you had Carlos. Well, I guess this happened before the weekend got underway. I guess it was Thursday, where Alcaraz went out in the second round to Boddick.
Yeah, wasn't it Friday?
Van de Zandschulp. And that guy got crushed in the subsequent round by a guy that wouldn't be anywhere close to Alcaraz's inability. I think he lost to Draper. And got crushed like a grape. And that's that's a reasonable betting theory, too. When somebody scores a monumental upset, bet against them the next time out. Did they get, you're betting against a run. I like this. Van de Zandschulp couldn't have looked any more inept in his next match. And the same thing happened with the guy that beat Djokovic in the third round, who, this guy is one of those players that is always very dangerous. Alexei Poprin. Australian guy, and big, tall, 6'5", skinny kid with some mobility and a huge serve. And so he's going to literally pop one every now and then. And lately he's been able to sustain a couple of runs, but he turns right around in the next match and gets crushed as well. But imagine if you would, I think Djokovic was an even bigger, more prohibitive favorite than Alcaraz was. Djokovic might have been like, you had to lay 1,000, I think, to win 100 on Djokovic in that match. But imagine if you're one of those guys that does that. How crushed. Because now is going to take you using that same strategy. You're going to have to win, in the case of Alcaraz, you're going to have to win the next 20 bets that you make. If you're using even amount increments, you're going to have to win the next 20 bets to get fucking even. You just lost with Secretariat. My God. That's crazy. So a lot of upsets there and some interesting stuff going on, including a little bit of a presence of the Americanos, Lubie. Could this be the breakthrough year? It's been a long, long time. I believe the last American victory in a Grand Slam event, does it go all the way back to like 2002 or something? When did Andy Roddick win? I think he won a U.S. Open. Was it 2002? Is it that far back, Lubie? It seems impossible that it's been that long. But American men making a little bit of a move in the U.S. Open, and the women, of course, interesting. Although your girl, Iga Swiatek, she was dominant yesterday. She sort of drew what would seem to be a soft spot for that late in the tournament, but nonetheless, looking pretty sharp. So Pegula's still around. Coco went out. A lot of criticism about the commentary of Chris Evert for some reason. How could you possibly pick on Chris Evert? What the hell did she say, Lubie?
I don't know.
She said something. I think it was about the player Muhova, the Czechoslovakian, who's also still alive and scored an easy victory yesterday. I don't know. Did she say something like, that this woman plays more like a man? Was it about Ans Jabeur? I don't know what it was that she said exactly, but it seemed as innocuous and harmless as anything you could, like we talk about Diana Taurasi. Why do you like watching her play, or have you over the years? Although, what is she, like 47 now? Diana Taurasi.
She's late 30s, I think.
I think I was covering, basketball with the Canes, and probably saw Diana Taurasi. What was she playing college basketball in the early fucking 90s? Is that possible? I don't know, but nonetheless, I mean, I think it's a compliment, isn't it? If you say, "Wow, that girl, she plays like a guy."
Yes, it shouldn't be.
Why is that like such a sensitive issue now? Where my God,
women should be in their own right, and men and women, it's okay if they're different but equal. I don't know.
If I'm talking to Andy at the bar there at the Isle Casino, and we just lost 6 straight races, and I say, "Hey, you know what I like about Diana Taurasi? She plays like a guy."
Oh yeah,
is somebody going to go? Wait, the woman who's behind the bar, Carol, is she going to go? Oh my God, how could you say something like that? But they're hammering Chris Everett. I mean, is it just that you get these things, Lubie? Should you believe the stuff that comes via social media, or I mean, are there people, very subversive people, that are trying to create some kind of anti-Chris Everett sentiment? How could you possibly not like this woman, Lubie? For God's sake, she's working after overcoming cancer. What a great, brave story. And she's been just tremendous. I mean, never. Do you ever get the feeling that she's trying to evoke people's sympathies or empathy for the fact that she's had this serious health battle? No, never. Always been the epitome of dignity and class. Still, I mean, she won me over when it was Haywood Hale Bruin. Remember that guy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, it was not Haywood Hale Broom, but it's very similar. Bud Collins was the guy, the tennis guy, right? Bud Collins.
Yeah. Yes.
And he was always known for wearing these wild outfits. That was one of his trademarks, Bud Collins. And he was a very enjoyable commentator. You always enjoy. I mean, even if he was saying nothing, it didn't matter because it was Collins saying it. And he had a way about him that was very pleasing and made you feel, like it was kind of a heartening approach to this sort of broadcasting. And so Everett, after suffering like a bitter loss in one of the slams, I think to Martina, is leaving a cart, and Collins is asking her a question, and he asks her a question. She gives a couple of cliches, and then he gives a follow-up, and she gives a couple of cliches. And then as she's walking off, kind of head down, clearly disappointed about this loss and feeling a great deal of pain about it, she turns as she's walking off and looks back at Collins and says, "Nice pants, bud." And I'm thinking, okay, so here's somebody who's like really in the moment. She's all right, right? The old Tony Segreto thing. How is she in the moment? She was fine. Still had the wherewithal to go ahead and turn around and take a shot at Bud Collins for wearing this outfit that you would expect to see maybe in that drag queen thing that was going on at the Olympic Games. Which did we get over that already, Lubie? Are we over that?
Yes.
All right, good. But I mean, I don't know why she's getting hammered like that. But interesting action, and you got all kinds of stuff going on today where it looks like, could it be a gagging sea of chalk, Lubie? Or does Taylor Fritz come through? Taylor Fritz, who looks like John Mayer with a racket, but although Mayer might have put on a few pounds, Lubie. Has he been doing the Lunchbox tour?
I haven't seen him.
Looks like he's been at the buffet at Batch Southern Kitchen for a while. No, I mean, he doesn't look bad or anything, but compared to before, I guess we could say that about all of us. All right, so the NFL starts up this week. We'll get into that a little bit as the Miami Dolphins are 3.5-point favorites, which seems a little slight, doesn't it? Over the Jacksonville Jaguars at home to open up the season. And you have just 2 nights away, the Chiefs going for a three-peat, which many people feel that they're going to accomplish, Lubie.
I mean, their team's better this year. That's what's fucking annoying.
Wouldn't you bet against them? I mean,
they were average all year last year. But the fact that they won last year is annoying.
All championships now in these kind of team sports where you could go 10 deep maybe and throw a net over the teams.
Yeah.
Talking about parity, especially in the National Football League, the way it's structured, so that you can only have so many great players on your roster. Yes. And when you do, it becomes a big ass problem, and you're trying to figure out, hey, how can we adapt the Larry Bird rule somehow and make it applicable to this game? Because otherwise, we're going to have a shit team next year because everybody's going to be leaving.
Yeah.
But the odds of, and there's always a big luck factor involved, is there not? Don't the Chiefs benefit from a lot of luck? They got lots of rock, don't they? If you want to get in trouble with an Asian slur. I mean, they're good. There's no denying it. You can't win 2 championships in a row without being good. And maybe they have the best quarterback in the league. Maybe they have the best coach. I don't know.
They have a great quarterback, and he makes up for a lot of missteps. That's sort of what it is.
They didn't have anybody who could catch the fucking ball last year.
No, but
and they still won the championship.
Make shit happen. Mahomes is good enough to make shit happen, and their defense came together when it needed to.
Yeah, and they added in a couple of guys. They got the kid they drafted.
Worthy from Texas.
Xavier something.
Xavier Worthy from Texas.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy.
Cole Hardman, who was a part of.
They picked up this Marquise Brown. Isn't he like some kind of speedster?
Marquise Brown was supposed to be really good. He always fell short, but again, they were missing speed. They've now brought in 3 speedsters.
Yeah.
To an offense.
Just cutting Kadarius Toney, I think, would be beneficial to their receiving corps. No, I mean, that guy was an accident waiting to happen. Wow. The Giants drafted him, very highly, did they not?
He was a first round
pick. Round pick, yeah.
He had a lot of talent, another Gator. Just didn't.
Wow. Horrendous career. I mean, talent and potential to productivity. Really a bad ratio there for Kadarius Toney. All right, well, we're going to run a lot of stuff to discuss here in the upcoming moments on the program. We've just kind of been rambling through it here. Didn't even mention the Joey Chestnut Kobayashi thing. Did you catch any of that, Louie?
No, but I got updates between you, Mayo. I don't know about you, but Mayo and Cerny were all over it.
Cerny was all over it. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Cerny was all over it. Cerny was like telling me when it was on and where, and I was like, oh, okay.
I had some weird thing happen where I kept going back to Netflix. I don't know. I must have put it on some kind of bizarre, dynamic because it kept coming up with 13 minutes to go to the main event. Every time I flick back to it, I'm like, wait a minute, am I not watching this live? What the hell's going on? But a blowout. Everybody knew this was going to be. That was another one of those prohibitive favorites there. I mean, would you have laid? I think you had to lay 1,000 to win 100 on Joey Chestnut. That would be. It would have seemed like a setup, didn't it, Lubie? Didn't we all know that Kobayashi was a shot fighter?
Yeah, he's been for years. And whereas
he's finished, the guy.
Chestnut has been working his skills all these years. He wasn't. So he wasn't going to get better.
Yeah. It's be like instead of Jake Paul, you put Tyson in there with Deontay Wilder, who if he lands one punch, it's going to be lights out. And maybe Wilder's a bad example because there would be people that would believe that a 58-year-old Tyson would beat Deontay Wilder. How does he not crush Jake Paul, by the way? But I mean, would you have gone ahead and done it? We knew. How could Kobayashi win it? And it seemed like the commentary was very biased. They were trying to make Kobayashi a viable opponent.
Well, obviously.
They were picking Kobayashi.
No, you can't pick
Even when he was down like 17 hot dogs, they were, all going, yeah, Kobayashi, you can do it. I mean, even if he was allowed to shove the hot dogs up his ass, as the polyman said to me, he could not have caught Joey Chestnut from that far back in the final couple of minutes. That wasn't happening.
No, there's no one. That's the problem. It's him against himself. He set another personal record. That's sort of what it is.
Imagine if he just started shoving the hot dogs up his ass. How great would that be? And then there was like a big controversial ruling. It doesn't say how he has to ingest them. Got one going in the mouth, 2 going up the ass. But he's still, I mean, they could have run around the track all day. They always say that in horse racing. They could have gone around again, and this horse wouldn't have been beaten, even though it got close at the end. All right, but this was a blowout. I mean, of huge magnitude.
Yes, and proportions. It was never close, and it was not going to be close.
Like from the opening minutes.
I mean, it's Chestnut.
Chestnut's up like 7 hot dogs immediately.
Yeah.
Did they mention a brand or anything? Did they fail to capitalize on the marketing opportunity that was being made available to them? And especially on Labor Day, did you have a hot dog yesterday, Lubie, by any chance? I almost did. I came close to a hot dog. Came close.
I had pizza. I did not have a hot dog.
Pizza?
Yesterday, yeah. I didn't.
It's not a Labor Day thing. Pizza.
We didn't do barbecues or anything. So I didn't even, it was a long weekend of hanging out. So I didn't even think about it being barbecue day.
Oh, well. Very un-American, my friend.
I know, we didn't do it.
Labor Day.
Yeah, I know.
All right, we're going to come back with more. Dolphins getting underway this week, and the Chiefs and the Ravens. An interesting matchup on a Thursday night with the Chiefs only favored slightly by 3 points. Louis.
The Ravens would be good. I mean, again, the Ravens were the best team coming out of the AFC until they saw the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Exactly, and that's what I'm looking at. When they saw the Chiefs in the playoffs, they literally, I'm not a big fan of this particular slogan, but I'm going to use it here. They literally shit the bed.
Yeah, they shit the bed. 100%. The second half they played better and they made it look prettier, but they got worse.
I don't like using that as I approach, older and older.
And
Man, 73 was that hit me like a haymaker, man. Unbelievable. And don't believe it, people, that you can stay young forever. You do not. I mean, it's not even close. It's a big number, and I don't know that it's even a manageable number at this point. All right, we're going to come back with more in a moment here. That's Mike Lubie Lubitz. I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, on this Tuesday. I always like starting a week on a Tuesday.
Yeah, it's great.
And we'll be back. NFL going, week number 2.
Yeah,
I mean, they talk about the biggest transition in college football. Week
I was
number 2.
People were so excited for football. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't think this. I thought
when you're dead in the water already, man.
Be good, not great. The fact that they're dreadful really sucks.
There's hope for Miami, though, my friend. Maybe they can overcome the cristobal factor.
No, I mean, they're going to. No, I think they'll be in the ACC title game. I think that's almost a guarantee at this point.
Holy Joe Zagacki. What are we talking
all
about?
the good teams. They play FSU at the end of the year, so they'll be even better by then. Maybe FSU will be better. Who knows? Or the middle of the year. But they don't play Carolina. They don't play Clemson. They don't play Notre Dame, who's like a pseudo ACC team, like most ACC teams have to play. They don't play a tough out of conference team. UF was their quote unquote tough out of conference team. And UF is going to be one of the worst teams in the country. They're going to be in the ACC title game. So this will be a successful season. We'll see let's see if they're undefeated when they get there or they have 2 losses. Like that'll be the crystal ball effect. Is with the schedule they have, they shouldn't lose any games. I presume they'll lose 1 or 2 because it's crystal ball, and Louisville actually is pretty solid. USF is pretty solid. So these are teams that if they don't let Ward run, and Ward's just average, which he is if he can't run, can they keep it close? Again, if it's close, that's when crystal ball matters. So I think that's what it is for UM this year. I think they're good enough in the trenches that they'll beat everyone they play. For the most part, it's what game or 2 do they stub their toe, and how do they look in an ACC title game? That's where
not any old Bobby Bowden syndrome.
Yes,
in effect, except that Bowden you respected as being at least competent in delegating whatever decision making was being made at the time during games to other people. Who was the guy that looked like he was inbred? Mickey Andrews. Remember Mickey Andrews?
DC.
Yeah. That was evidence of inbreeding, I believe, when you looked at Mickey Andrews. Not to get into any type of physical shaming, but it was one of those guys that you thought, so your uncle is your cousin. All right, we're back with more in a moment. Now that. The time. How come you just always equate Florida football with hillbilly behavior? It's 8:49. The Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
Hi. Guys, if I could squeeze in 2. One is just, can you say with certainty that Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the roster on Sunday?
I can't guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive Sunday, so I can't guarantee who will be on our roster on Sunday. So that goes for all of us.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo joined by Lubie on the Defo Show.
That's one of those beauties, Lubie, that never gets old. Kyle Shanahan, in response to a question, I mean, that seemed. Does he want to say, "Hey, listen, we're going to have Garoppolo"? Did they cut Garoppolo? I think they did, in spite of the statement there by Shanahan that clearly, you talk about Kamala Harris being vague. Forget about that, Lubie. That was as well as you could dodge a question.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was embarrassingly bad the way he dodged that question.
Yes.
Can't guarantee the guy would even be alive. Well, what are you talking about, Kyle? Let's get the fuck out of here. All right, NFL gets underway. Miami Dolphins, they start quickly, don't they, Lubie? So would you be inclined to go ahead and lay 3.5 at home? Now, Jacksonville comes to town with what? A lot of great promise. They come to town with Trevor Lawrence, who, in spite of having an horrendous haircut, I mean, who is advising this guy? I guess he's making money, Lubie, because he stands out. But what's up with that haircut? It's not even a good job of having long hair, which I normally would be very much in favor of because it's not a consideration I can take into account anymore because that's done. I couldn't grow my hair that long. It would be impossible. Maybe out of my ass. That's the problem, too, with getting old. You can grow hair in places that you don't want to, and yet you don't have enough on your head to really feel comfortable. But nonetheless, I mean, what is Jacksonville going to do? The Dolphins, you have to figure, are going to – they just extended Mike McDaniel's contract, which, I mean, was there not speculation that this was a year where he was going to have to prove himself?
Oh, this is – yeah, the extension I don't get in the middle of this year when –
because they love this guy, as a lot of people
do. They went to back-to-back playoff. They went to the playoffs back-to-back seasons. They hadn't done that since early 2000s. So that's fine. I understand the hides and the perks of the world that he has to win a playoff game. He does. I agree. But they also have done that, and that's fine. That's not a feather. That's like the cap's on the head, ready for the feather in the cap. But I wouldn't have extended. I would be like, all right, good job for you. Let's see because they have to win a play. I mean, they've gone all in. Like, they've gone all in.
Yes.
Paying money, putting in veterans, saying fuck the draft for the most part. Like, they've gone all in on bringing in talent and then re-signing them to ridiculous contracts. So this is the year. Like, you got to not only win the playoffs.
It's now or never.
Run.
Yes.
So to me, wouldn't you wait a year to do the? I don't know what was he? Was he like on one more year kind of a thing?
I can't imagine what he wouldn't have signed a 3-year contract, would he? When he got the job, that seems a little short, doesn't it?
And maybe with 4-year deal.
Hey, we really think you're the guy here. We just vetted our way through 57 coaching candidates, and short of digging up Lombardi, we're totally confident that you're going to be the guy that's going to get it done for us. So here's a 2-year contract with an option for year 3. That wouldn't exactly be a tremendous vote of confidence. Yeah, and maybe it's worth. Look, does Stephen Ross, is he going to miss the money if he pays Mike McDaniel $10 million for a couple of years of doing nothing after he lets him go? They don't give a fuck, right? I mean, are they sitting there examining? You think Garfunkel is going over the bottom line and going, "Hey, Steve, you know what? We're losing money here." I'm not sure that it matters, right? Well, with the value of franchises. I mean, think about it. Even though it was a hefty price, or so it seemed at the time, for the Miami Dolphins in the stadium, this Stephen Ross had to quintuple his money in a short period of time on a large amount of money. This is Andy Man stepping up and having 2,000 to win on some 4-1 shot that we gave out on the show, only to see it run. And win, because it would have to be worth what? Are they worth $4-5 billion now? The Miami Dolphin franchise?
I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, NFL, he owns the land, he owns the stadium,
everything.
The NFL franchise is anywhere from $3 to $5 billion, and they are in a city, and they have a history. Yes, he's able to get some money for the Dolphins. They're not at the top of the list, but they're not the bottom either.
Did you ever hear of and or purchase anything from the Conch Man? who had one of the original food trucks in that area by the stadium. Conch Man. He was great, man. I mean, literally, long before the concept of food trucks was popular, this guy would pull up, and if he rang the bell, boom, everybody was out there. Conch fritters, as good as if you went to Alabama Jack's, and all kinds of stuff. Frying a lot of different types of fish. But, yeah, I mean, he even owns that, Stephen Ross. I think he has the rights to the Conch Man's vehicle. So I'm thinking this, that the Dolphins are largely a speed horse, an exceptional speed horse, and they've come out of the chute flying under Mike McDaniel. Does it seem like every year where you look and I mean, especially after those dreadful starts that we had forever. I mean, with Brian Flores, where they were getting beat 47-0 as a matter of routine, losing their first 7 games. And you thought, wow, that this team is going to go down on record as being the worst team in National Football League history, or possibly so. That's not the kind of infamy that you want to live in. But with McDaniel, I think that, I mean, look, I always talk about, so vanilla. He didn't really display anything of what this team is going to look like in the preseason. We have no idea. So I think they're going to be ready on day number 1, Lubie. Here I am, ready to bury our adoring public. Jacksonville, I mean, what's so great about Jacksonville? I guess everybody thinks every year that Jacksonville is going to have some kind of breakthrough. Is that a fair statement? That every year people are thinking, well, you better watch out for Jacksonville. For the last couple of years, anyway. And I haven't seen it really manifest itself. So I'm thinking high wire act, Miami Dolphins, 3 and a hook, not too much delay, at home, game number 1. And in the immortal words of the late, great Gordon Soley, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What are you thinking about this Chiefs game? I know our man Sheldon G has a hefty investment in the Kansas City Chiefs that he made like the minute the line came out. Like the guy hadn't even said minus 3, and Sheldon G was in with like $250,000 or some phenomenal amount of money. I don't know what it was, but it was very.
I like the Dolphins at home. The Jags, I think, will have a rebound year. I think they're a good team, but I think the Dolphins, this is the year, and they start fast every year. Everyone's healthy right now, and when the Dolphins are healthy, they're a really good team. It's the health that later in the year usually catches up with them.
Should be razor sharp in his
I like them. They're at home. It'll be hot as fuck. So
that wouldn't matter to Jacksonville so much. But.
Yeah, but still. The heat of South Florida. The heat of Florida is bad everywhere. South Florida. Remember, they're not by the water. They're in the middle of the fucking Broward-Dade County.
It's disgusting place. Yeah.
It gets fucking. It's not a dome. I would say the Dolphins should be okay.
Should be great in this game.
The Chiefs
they win by 10.
Yeah, the Chiefs are going to win that game too. I think the Chiefs are going to come out. I don't know if they win just because the ACC, the AFC has a lot of teams that are really good. That it may just eventually wear on them. Like, I don't know if they're going to just get through the playoffs like they've been, but they're the best team in the regular season. I think it's going to be reversed from last year. I think in the regular season, they're just going to work teams. We'll see if someone catches them in the playoffs, but I think the Chiefs are just going to, I mean, they're a better team this year than they were last year. They just are. They added pieces on defense and they added pieces on offense to a team that won the Super Bowl.
Is that hook going to loom like a harpoon as it usually does?
No.
Finns eke out a 3-point victory over a dogged Jacksonville team that fights them right to the wire. And somehow they get a late field goal to win the game, to win by 3, and you feel like an asshole because you laid 3 in a hook. I mean, look, nobody knows. Jason Cole, I think, put it well. I'm not sure that it applies to the whole month of September, but he was talking when we were naturally trying to steer him into a degenerate conversation, Lubie, in spite of his resistance and reluctance. But he does love making comments on it because he sneers at us degenerates, thinking that we're suckers that will soon be parted from our money, which in most cases is absolutely an empirical truth, no? So anyway, but he said that now because there is no preseason to judge anything by, which, people were attaching little relevance to it in the past, but now you have nothing to go on, absolute zero. I haven't seen the starters play, and I have no idea what the strategies are going to be. Who knows what these coaches were actually working on or practicing or trying to figure out what they could deduce from preseason play. And Now you're going to see, a whole different thing. But September is very much the preseason in the eyes of Jason Cole. And so, I mean, you can't necessarily go in with both fists, can you, Lubie? Well, we should probably administer that warning and issue that warning before all wagering activity. You won't find that on the FanDuel ads, by the way. By the way, we really don't know anything about this shit, so just curb your enthusiasm a little bit for sending in big piles of cash. How much money do you think is going to be wagered this first week of the NFL season? I think people have been salivating for this for a long time, no? And it's only been amplified in recent years by the number of psychotic people that are betting virtually everything that transpires in the ballgame, play after play. It'd be like you when you're texting, Lubie. Just play after play. Just okay, they're going to run the ball. Getting minus 110. Okay. Be careful.
Look, again, Cole, like you said, because the preseason's useless. It used to just be the Patriots. Now it's everyone uses the first month as like, well, let's see, because there's that extra game that you can, if you finish 2-2, you're in a fine spot to where you can recover. So yeah, you don't really know what's going on in the league until you get through September. You can bet because you have teams like the Chiefs that have stable quarterbacks, but I don't know. Most of the league, I would leave it alone until we get through the first 2 to 3 games at least.
And he brings up an interesting point. The shots of the suite with Taylor Swift and Brittany Mahomes used to be inseparable BFFs. Now that it's known that Mahomes is a Trumpster, and we know that Taylor, I was surprised Taylor Swift didn't come out and make a surprise performance at the DNC, no? Lubie, wouldn't that have been great if she got, that would have put Kamala over the top and we would have been rid of Trump forever. It would have been fantastic. Come on, Taylor.
I think at some point she's going to do something. I think she's going to do it on her own accord. She's been traveling a lot overseas. She's now coming back to America to do.
Doesn't she have to appear? While all these bands are suing Trump for using their music.
I know.
Because they don't want to be associated with them. Foo Fighters. Hey, stop it. Isaac Hayes, whatever.
Yeah, all these people. Anyone, random people that haven't been big for years are like, dude, you're not using music.
Mel Torme from the grave is saying, hey, stop it. Cut it out, Donnie. I can't stand you. Crazy. But, if Swift gets up there, that's it. That would do it. That would put Kamala over the top, wouldn't it? Young voters would be scrambling. Are they pre-election age, the Swifties? No, she crosses a lot of age demographics, does she not? What do you think, Lubie? One appearance and bingo.
She's anywhere from young to older. Like people older than my wife like her, and kids like her. Like she crosses all. I don't know about gender, but age. From young to people in their 40s and 50s love Taylor Swift. She's beloved across.
Please, Taylor.
Her vouching for Kamala would be a big deal. Whenever
she belts Mahomes in the mouth and then belts on the tune. God bless America. God bless Kamala Harris. All right, we're going to get out of here. Thanks for being with us. Where's the lunchbox at today?
Home. We're from the home front today.
Okay, good, because I don't know what was happening. My tire was going flat.
Oh, geez, that's not good.
So I'm going to have to attend to that sometime soon. All right, Lubie, thanks. Always a pleasure. You held up pretty well considering the circumstances, but when you resigned to failure, it's okay to just
I wasn't resigned heading into the year.
Fall on your face.
After these 2 games, it's hard not to be.
Yeah, I could hear the Mexican derisive whistle coming from the crowd at the Olympic Auditorium. And that was it. That essentially meant, do something to your mother that we don't know. You stiff. All right, thanks, everybody. See you next time as we leave you on that. Did we do that already, Lubie? I don't know. Time. It's 9:05.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.